Hello, Augies Worldwide. I'm Dave Casler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, here with another episode of Ask Dave. And today's question comes from Steve, KE5SF. And he says, question, when I transmit on WSJTX and make contact with someone, then go to JTAlert and go to the messenger, and that call sign is offline, what is going on? And why are they offline? This does not make sense to me. Well, I was a little puzzled by this. I had to ask him where the messenger app was. WSJTX is a program put together by JTAlert and co-developers. They were up at Princeton. He's retired now, so they've got the code in the regular place for the code base rather than on the Princeton website. It's a very, very, very popular mode, especially FT8. It actually encompasses multiple modes, FT8 being the one that's used the most. Now, what is JTAlert? JTAlert is a program made by some other people that attaches itself to WSJTX and does things like keep track of stations that you're looking for and stuff like that. And it does have a messenger feature. I need to run JTAlert because it is what connects WSJTX to my N3FJP all contact log. So that way, when I finish contacting someone on FT8, it'll all come through and into the logbook like I want it to. And it's right there. And then later I can upload it to Logbook of the World or whatever I might want to do with them. I think we're starting to see what may be going wrong in here. First, we'll look at where the messenger window is. Then we're going to talk about people who use FT8. And then we're going to talk about whether or not they will use the messenger app. So let's get over to the computer here and take a look at this. This right up here is the waterfall for WSJTX. We're on 20 megahertz here, okay? And each time it goes across once every 15 seconds to get you something new. You can pick any one of these to communicate with. Now, right down here is my JTAlert. Again, the only thing I use it for is to connect over here to the all contact log where I've got lots of calls listed. And if I were to make a contact here, it would come into here at the time that it is ready. Now, it will do many other things, none of which I know anything about. Yours about the messenger, if you go into view, okay, there is a text message window, okay? And so you can contact somebody, and if they're offline, the thing can't contact them. They have to be using JTAlert also. Now, the problem is, again, I'm using this only for logging. WSJTX has its own logging program, and you can upload those logs to Logbook of the World if you want to. You can put them up there without a problem. And so a lot of people, if they're using like N1MM, are hooked up in an entirely different way. This is so it can hook a software interrupt into these two places right here. So that person is offline. Let's pick one, NR0Q, okay, NR0Q. And he's offline too, even though he's right up here. What's the problem? Well, one, people who do FT8 get into the rhythm of making these contacts, and they usually don't want to have any kind of a chat with anybody or anything like that. Also, a lot of them just don't use JTAlert for except the minimum, and they don't use this messaging function. Now, the messaging function does not go over the air. It's internet to internet. If you enjoy chatting with people over digital modes, you've got several options. One is JS8 call. It uses a protocol very similar to FT8, but you can actually send short messages and they'll be sent with the same kind of error correction and stuff that you get with FT8. In other words, it can be very reliable. If you go down a little bit to around 14.070 megahertz up to 14.073, you'll find a really cool mode that I used a great deal called PSK31. And oh, I've spent hours and hours and hours on that. That is strictly a chat mode. But unfortunately, the software for it had macros in it, so you could send a macro that like had your standard station equipment in it. And it got to the end there, it got sort of like that's all people would do. I'd want to chat with them, but they didn't want to type. So they would send macros. This is my station, da-da-da-da-da, thank you for the contact, and so on. And it became just a push button kind of thing. Now there are other modes where conversations take place. Software like Ham Radio Deluxe or other pieces of software that you could pick up for free would do Olivia, and it would also do RIDI. You can do radio teletype on that. Now that's completely separate. And those pieces of software have unfortunately faded back into the woodwork, but they still work and you can get a hold of them. Another way that's still possible is you can use WinLink. Okay, and there's some software called Vara that you can use on your computer to actually send and receive emails. And it's very useful for emergency purposes and so on. The fundamental reason that you don't find people online at JTAlert is the fact they're not online. They're not looking to chat over the internet or something like that. If you want a chat mode, go find one where you will find people who want to chat. JS8 call is very popular right now. So there you have it. Until we next meet, 73.